the Terrorblade build because my microphone cut out earlier in the video and missed out some crucial information. So this is for an off-lane Terrorblade build. Now you could play this safe lane, if I'm being honest, but it generally fares better in the offlane because you'll be using max reflection, so you want to just stay on the enemy carry, basically. Let's go to level 10. Oh, oops, 13. But just to give you an idea of what your build's going to look like, you're going to max Metamorphosis and Reflection, and you're going to skip Illusions entirely. And the reasoning for this is Terrorblade's laning phase is super important, and rather than, move over and do side jungle camps at a really slow speed and spend a lot of mana that you don't have to spend, you're just going to use your hero to farm, and you're going to control the lane, which is kind of different than most Terrorblades do. They want to, hit level 3 illusion or something, when it really doesn't increase their farming at all. It's just useless, if I'm being quite honest. Your starting build's going to be Quelling Blade. I usually do this, right here, 2 tangos. The stats are necessarily early on because his health is really bad. You can build into Juan if you think it's good. You don't have to. And then following this, your first item is going to be Helm of Iron Will. This is going to be for your laning phase. And then I like to go Boots, just so I can last hit better and not die. And he's kind of fast, so it's nice to have a little bit of move speed. I will say, when you hit, when you're level 1, you're going to want to pop Metamorphosis right off the bat for your first wave. The reasoning is you're going to go through some tangos and just try to get as much harass with your Metamorphosis as possible. Or just get the entire group wave if you can. The plus damage should be enough to really solidify some last hitting early on, and you can go from there. Your build order is going to be Armlet, straight Armlet, into Phase Boots. This is going to help you get around the map. And it's going to make you really hard to kill. It's going to make your armlet toggling really useful and more effective, because you're able to bridge that gap between auto attacks to ranged attack projectiles and so on. Eventually you're going to get images, but every time you pop illusions, make sure you use your armlet. The drain doesn't affect them, but they get the plus strength, which is huge. And that's pretty much the goal of that. Armlet in general, though, the way Terrorblade kind of works and the way your build will scale is after this, you're going to go into, where is it? I'm blanking. Orb of Corrosion. And Orb of Corrosion is really good because, now I reiterated this in the first video, but in demo mode there's a bug where for some reason Orb of Corrosion isn't applying to illusions, but just keep in mind, it's just a bug. If you try this in game, it works. Any illusion character, even PL, it'll apply the slow on hit. So what happens is you can just kind of send your illusions onto targets, and they can, within a reflection, and then it can kind of walk them down. They don't really get away. With that said, because of the way Armlet drains you, you're going to turn Sunder into an offensive spell. It allows you to drop toggle onto certain heroes and then end up killing them. Our second purchase after Armlet phase, Orb of Corrosion, is going to be Mask of Madness. Now, you're probably wondering maybe, well, is Orb of Corrosion really core? I'm like, yes, it is very much so core to this build because it acts as your Scotty early on. And it pumps your physical damage. So you have a big -3, so you're getting a little bit of help, and it's just really strong. Very good item. After this, you go Mask of Madness. And the reasoning is because it looks cool as fuck. And I'll show you. So you can pop Armlet for the purple and then Mask of Madness for the red. Right? I mean, that's not the only reason. Not just because it looks cool. But that's one of the reasons I like it. But specifically, this kind of playstyle where you don't really rely on illusions as much, it gives more centered play around your hero and micro. So you don't have to worry about illusions really with this build. You really just play with your hero. And it's nice because unfortunately when you play Terrorblade, like the illusions, microing the illusions, unless you're a fucking god, you know, at the micro, it really just messes you up in the long run. Illusions are great, but they're not great until late game when you have items and stuff to really make them impactful. So with Mask of Madness, it gives you everything you need, but also you can Mask of Madness phase boots around the map. It gives you a bunch of mobility. You're going to disassemble Mask of Madness for Satanic Butterfly later, so it is just great at all points of the game. After this item, you're going to go into Shadowblade. And the reason is because one, this build will give you insane mobility because you can use all your actives at once while moving around the map. Alright, so you're running around max move speed. And the point of this build is you're going to sit invis so you can drain your life. And then that way you can come out and you're turning Sunder into an offensive weapon. And you just start killing people. Now it's no longer up to, oh, I gotta wait for the perfect moment to get my Sunder off, which never really works, if we're being honest, because people will just lock you down at lower percent because they know it's going to happen. Instead, you're gonna kind of twist their expectations and just attack them in the jungle, or attack them in mid, or just, you know, gank people with this kind of Terrorblade build. And it's kind of a playstyle that isn't really utilized. And as for the talents here, I mean, you can't go wrong. I kind of like the stats, but the duration on the illusions is probably best. But it can go either way, so kind of keep that in mind. But I probably go duration, just because. After this, we're going to go into Silver Edge. Now, Silver Edge is just nice, and it gives your illusions crit. So you're going to have little crit illusions that can kind of beat ass. So they kind of get double damage, give or take. Now, Daedalus is really good, so you don't always have to go Silver Edge. Keep that in mind. You can just hold on to the Shadowblade, because Daedalus is honestly a super pump item for this build. And yeah, so I'm not really sold on Silver Edge itself, but you could go into Silver Edge if you needed to break a hero like Huskar or whoever it is. Bristleback, Bristleback, and so on. So keep that in mind. You'll have a different kind of build you can use if you need to, but I would prefer to do Daedalus, just because you do a shit ton of damage, like pure fucking mayhem. And yeah, like I said, you look scary as fuck with the double hands. And with Mask of Madness, it just makes your attack move really fluent, and it feels good. Additionally, the Orb of Corrosion is going to scale with your reflection damage. And yeah, basically you're just going to pump reflection at all points. You're not you don't really need to spend mana on illusions to farm with this build, because you're always just going to keep Armlet on, dealing insane damage. So illusions are cool when you're pushing or when you're like forcing a team fight and you know it's going to be huge, but otherwise just hands on the wheel for your main hero and don't really worry about illusion micro. Kind of set it and forget it playstyle. And then after this, just assemble this, get your Satanic, sell Orb for your Butterfly, And then you can sell Armlet eventually for your Scotty. And this is what your build will end up looking like. And then eventually, you probably won't need the Phase Boots or the Shadow Blade, so you can go Boots of Travel into whatever it is you want. So yeah, this build's pretty fucking sick, and it's very different from your typical Terrorblade build, which kind of rely on like the Power Treads Yasha Manta build, which is okay, every 3 minutes when you have your Metamorphosis up. But outside of that, your cooldown, you're just absolutely useless, and you have no health to support yourself, and it just sucks. It's one of those things where we thought we had it figured out, I think, and now there's just a better method to play this hero, a more offensive method. But also, you can just one thing to keep in mind too is that you can just offensively sunder allies for health too. If they're low, just give them a sunder, pop your armlet, and lifesteal back up. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of different playstyles for this build. But the biggest thing that you need to know is that when you have armlet, make sure you're being offensive with it, and make sure you're draining. And if at one point in the game where you have Mask of Madness and you're trying to get off Sunder ganks and stuff like that with Shadowblade, just drop your lifesteal in your backpack while you're jungling or something to really get that drain going. And yeah, from there you can just pretty much do whatever. But like I said, remember that the Phase Boots with the Shadowblade and the Mask of Madness all can be activated at the same time. And it's very useful for one, getting away, but also positioning and just moving around the map. I'll do that one more time for you. So you want to do Armlet, Mask of Madness, Phase, Shadowblade. So you got this super mobile, really hard to gank kind of build. You got invisibility, so you're going to force dust. That's a negative factor for their eco. And yeah, they're going to have to like go to certain links to kill you, but you can just also, armlet toggle, sunder, and get away with all kinds of crazy shit. So yeah, this is the build. I hope you like it, and good luck.